Welcome to our latest explainer, part of the Heal Africa series. Today we're diving into a country that is absolutely crucial to the continent's future, but often flies under the radar, Mozambique. It's one of only 4 Lusophone, that is, Portuguese-speaking nations in Africa, and its story is just this incredible mix of ancient power, colonial struggle, and right now, a world-changing opportunity.
So just imagine for a second, a country that has seen it all. Powerful empires, 500 years of colonial rule, a devastating civil war, only to find itself, right now, sitting on a natural resource so gigantic it could literally reshape the energy map for Africa and honestly for the rest of the world. Well, that country is Mozambique.
You know, to really get a handle on the huge opportunities and the very real dangers Mozambique is facing today, we have to look back. The country's present was forged over centuries, and that story started long before any European ships ever showed up on the horizon.
Yeah, this is so important to remember. Mozambique's history did not start with colonization. We're talking about Bantu-speaking peoples building organized communities here as far back as the 3rd century. And later, you had the incredible Monamutatapa Empire, which was a real regional powerhouse controlling a massive gold trade that flowed right through these sophisticated Swahili towns on the coast out to Asia and the Middle East.
Okay, so this timeline right here captures 5 centuries of just radical transformative change. It all kicks off in 1498, when the Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama lands, and the region's destiny just shifts on a dime. Fun fact, the name Mozambique actually comes from the ruler of a small island sultanate at the time, a man named Sheikh Musa bin Binke. So the Portuguese set up forts and trading posts, they call them feitorias, to basically muscle their way in and seize that lucrative gold trade from the established Arab networks. And for centuries, this territory was actually administered as part of Portuguese India, which is wild to think about. But over time, the whole economy tragically pivots from gold to the slave trade. It then takes until 1975 for the Front for the Liberation of Mozambique, or Frelimo, to finally win independence after a decade of armed struggle. But that victory was almost immediately followed by a horrific 15-year civil war that ended in 1992 after leaving an estimated 1 million people dead.
So let's jump to the present day, where that long, complicated history has really shaped Mozambique's modern strategic importance. You know, after the Civil War, as the country started to pick up the pieces and rebuild, its unique geography became one of its absolute greatest assets.
Just look at this map for a second. We're talking about a massive 2,500-kilometer coastline on the Indian Ocean, which is a crucial global shipping lane. And on top of that, it shares a border with 6 other nations. This geography isn't just a random fact. It is the absolute key to understanding its vital role in the entire region.
Exactly. For its landlocked neighbors, Mozambique is the gateway to the world. It's not an exaggeration. Its ports, we're talking Maputo, Beira, and the Cala, are basically the economic lungs for Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Malawi. They're their main connection to global trade. So what that means is Mozambique's stability isn't just some domestic issue. It's a regional necessity.
And this brings us right to the incredibly complex, high-stakes reality of today. It's a place where you have immense natural wealth, deep political challenges, and violent conflict all colliding at the exact same time.
So the political scene is tense, to put it mildly. The ruling party, Frelimo, has been in power for 50 years, basically since independence. The recent inauguration of President Daniel Chapo came right after a fiercely disputed and violent election, which is just a huge reminder of how fragile the country's political situation still is.
And running right alongside all those political tensions is the massive challenge of corruption. The infamous tuna bond scandal is the perfect example. Essentially, $2 billion in government-guaranteed loans for a state-run tuna fishing company just vanished. It's a stark reminder of the governance hurdles that have to be overcome if Mozambique's wealth is ever going to reach its people.
And here it is. This is the central tragic irony of Mozambique today. The very ground that holds the key to the nation's future prosperity is also the site of a brutal, ongoing conflict.
In the northern province of Cabo Delgado, which is exactly where the massive gas reserves are, an ISIS-linked insurgency has been raging since 2017. It's created a huge humanitarian crisis, displacing nearly 1 million people. Now, regional forces have helped improve security lately, and that's allowed some of the big energy projects to restart, but the conflict really just highlights the enormous security challenge that is tied directly to the nation's economic future.
Okay, so now let's pivot and talk about the prize itself. The reason the entire world's attention is turning to this stretch of the Indian Ocean. The absolutely staggering natural gas discoveries in the Rovuma Basin.
First, let's just let this number sink in. The projected government revenue from this gas is over $60 billion. I mean, this isn't just a windfall. This is a completely nation-transforming amount of money.
And if you want some perspective on that number, just look at this one project. The French energy giant Total Energies is investing $20 billion. Let me say that again, $20 billion. That is the single largest foreign direct investment in the entire history of sub-Saharan Africa.
And they are not alone, not by a long shot. The American energy giant ExxonMobil is planning its own $30 billion project right next door. These numbers are so big, they're almost hard to wrap your head around.
So what you have is basically the heavyweights of global energy all placing these massive bets on Mozambique's future. You've got French, American, and Italian companies all on the ground, and the U.S. government has backed this with billions in financing. Make no mistake, this is a global strategic play. So this brings us to the ultimate question, right? The one that really defines not just Mozambique's future, but the story of so many resource-rich nations across the continent. Will this unbelievable wealth be a blessing for its people, or is it going to become a curse?
And this right here is the paradox at the very heart of Mozambique. On one hand, you have this mind-blowing potential to become a top global energy exporter, a strategic gateway for all of Africa. And on the other hand, you have the current reality, a nation that's still struggling with extreme poverty, incredibly fragile politics, and just devastating social challenges.
So how do you bridge that gap? How do you escape this potential resource curse? Well, it seems to require a really clear path forward. First, prioritizing total transparency in how all this money is managed. Second, decentralizing the wealth so it actually benefits all regions, not just the capital. And third, and this is the big one, creating systems where citizens can actually hold their leadership accountable.
In the end, it all comes down to this. Can Mozambique convert all of this natural abundance into real, tangible human development for its 34 million people? The answer to that question will define the next chapter for this incredibly resilient nation, and it's going to hold powerful lessons for the entire African continent.